This is session number 37 of the Silvertrac Extra.
Thanks for tuning in to the Silvertrac Extra, your source for the best tips, tricks, and how-tos to dominate the security industry. Helping you improve your business, win more contracts, and crush your competition. Here are your hosts, Chris Anderson and Johnny Page.
What's up, Silvertrac Nation? Johnny Page here along with Chris Anderson for session number 37 here on the Silvertrac Extra, where we're going to talk about making guard management easier with Silvertrac. And Chris, as we put our heads together and drew up an outline for this specific topic, we found that there were really three major categories, along with some miscellaneous benefits and some miscellaneous ways that we can make guard management easier with Silvertrac. But this really starts in, number one, reducing the time and the cost of training; two, maximizing security team performance; and three, optimizing the dispatch and the call center. So Chris, let's start with section number one, reducing the time and cost of training. Tell us how Silvertrac can really improve this aspect of guard management.
Well, we developed a tool to do a number of things. Number one, as a lot of the listeners may know already, checkpoints. For example, the QR codes to simplify the writing process, the reporting process. Checkpoints allow the guard to actually see the instructions on the post. And all he simply has to do is just push OK and it goes in the data activity report. So I love that feature. The task feature allows them to, or actually reminds them to go do their lockups or their tour around. So a lot of the things that, Silvertrac does today does save a lot of time. And of course, time is money.
So we talk about using these features in combination to help eliminate or reduce the amount of time that it actually takes to train an officer, right? Because Chris, you talk about all of these coming together, the checkpoints, the tasks, the ability to view post orders in the handheld, and then also notifications going out to supervision without the officer having to do that manually. All of these come together to make sure that when an officer is on site for the first time, they still know what's expected of them and they know what to do, right? So it doesn't place so much of a dependency on cross training, right?
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is that when we start a new account, for an example, we have a guard out there, we have a tendency to always want to call the guard, make sure he's doing the right thing or see if he has any questions. So, again, the checkpoints and the task allow you to take a quick view, maybe on a tablet, to see how he's moving along. And that, again, is saving time and money. It allows you to do other things.
So we utilize a lot of training aids, videos in the Resource Center to really teach new guards or even existing guards the concept behind being really focused on value and delivering value to the customer, and also being able to utilize the technology to streamline their process. So then what we do, Chris, is we're not so dependent on having to hire the quote unquote A guards, the ones that can really write high level reports and all that, right? Because we're not so dependent on someone really being able to kind of show value all on their own, right? The technology really helps facilitate that.
Yeah, and in our presentations, when I'm actually selling to people that are interested in Silvertrac, I always tell them, the history, how it was built around my 4-year-old daughter at the time. We have to make it very simple because technology was just coming out and it was new. So we needed to create, the drop-down menus, and we needed to create the tasks and the checkpoints for reminders. But the tool itself had to be simple, and that's the way we made it. Addresses are in there, locations are in there, unit details. So to report is, within seconds now versus minutes.
And we really take a lot off of the officer's plate in having to report all of the routine stuff over and over again. That is what really causes, when you're always having to go back, write the same thing over and over again. That's why they're so lackadaisical when they go to write the incident report, leaving a lot of stuff out, because they just don't hold a lot of value for the reporting process. Whereas when we eliminate that and they only have to write when it's actually critical, we maintain the importance of actually developing a really solid report.
Yeah, and you got to remember, location awareness. A lot of the guards are moving to different accounts all the time, so they're not really familiar with the post they're working sometimes. So the fact that we had the locations and the addresses and everything pre-set up in the handheld, again, that saves them time having to take out a post order book and find out where they're at to report it.
Exactly. Great. So that wraps up point number one, in that we can improve the guard management process by reducing the time and the cost of training. Well, Silvertrac Nation, we still have two amazing ways that Silvertrac can really help make guard management much easier. But we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors over at Paperless Proposal. Then we'll jump right back into our featured conversation.
Developed for mid to large security companies, Paperless Proposal is the #1 enterprise-level cloud-based proposal creation and management solution. Use it to create, send, track, and manage highly customized proactive or RFP proposals. Differentiate your company and win more business with this powerful proposal generation software that can include office files, video, templates, pricing tools, CRM integration, and e-signature approval. Contact us for a free demo at www.paperlessproposal.com/Silvertrac.
Point number two is that we can really maximize security team performance when we're using Silvertrac. There's a lot of overlap here, but what we're doing is we're giving supervision a lot of insight into what's happening on the property as it's actually happening, right, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely, John. This is a big time saver as well.
So we're talking about the ability to manage officer productivity, track arrival and departure times, when officers are on lunch breaks, when they're actually completing the tours and the patrols of the property. All of this can be set up to have notifications on the back end so that if officers aren't where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there, we're notifying supervision. So now we're not doing the randomized, quote unquote, again, the randomized patrol stops that we all supposedly promise our customers. What we're doing is we're only going to accounts where it looks like activity is either dipping in performance or maybe there's a cause for suspicion on the supervision side.
Yeah, because supervisors before would go to an account to see, was a guard there, right? Number one, right? Was he standing in his position? Is he taking his lunch breaks? Is he taking his breaks in general? Because those things have to be done. Because as you know, if you own a company, if your employees aren't taking breaks, they can come back later and say, hey, I haven't been given my lunch breaks. I haven't given my, or even my 15-minute breaks, which is something you have to do. So the fact that the supervisor can open that up on a tablet and see across the board his group of locations he's supervising, everybody's doing their job, arrival and departures, it's really time. It really increases performance.
Yeah, and this makes it available or possible for one supervisor to maintain a lot more accounts now, right? Because you have the entire operation right there in a tablet versus, a checklist of the sites that he needs to go hit being completely random, right? And so I think it just puts a little bit more rhyme and reason as you grow and scale your security company. It's a practice that can really help improve the guard management. Make sure that you're in the right place at the right time.
Yep. John, real quick, I would also tell the listeners out there that, I was able to remove my supervisor almost from the field. Versus, in other words, instead of him going out just doing the supervision, it allowed him to get involved in the patrols, right? Patrol check. So I had other accounts that were just patrol accounts. So to put him in the car, it made him more productive, right? Because he could take a quick overview and a real glance at what was going on.
Great point. Last, on the flip side here is, so we have the ability to notice when officers' performance is dipping, but we also have the ability to recognize quality performance. And so now we can reward that based on objective information, not just based on the security or the supervisor's favorite guard, right? So there's a little bit more rhyme and reason to incentive based on performance, right?
Yeah, and I used to put make a little competition with them. Guys taking quality audio files, taking quality pictures, quality reporting, using the device. Yeah, I made it fun for them. So it's a great way to enhance all that.
Yep. So, Chris, you mentioned the ability to almost pull the supervisor out of the field into the dispatch or the call center, right, or from the central location, whether it's your main office, wherever you have the dispatch or call center located, which really leads us to section number 3 here, or item number 3, how we can use Silvertrac to really optimize guard management, is that we can streamline the dispatch in the call center, right? So this really allows the dispatch center to manage the field teams in real time. They're the ones seeing the arrivals, departures, and they can really raise a red flag when something is going wrong because they see the entire operation right there from the dispatch center.
Yeah, and this was a big cost when I had my company is the dispatch center. And all the listeners out there know that having even somebody ride around in a car and take that phone call and try to, either use a radio or dispatch it out is very time consuming. And it could be very problematic if the guy's driving on the car because you don't want him texting and driving. So what I was able to do here is take this down to where they had a clear view of everything that was going on right in the issue monitor. Now, everything has to be set up correctly, your addresses, your locations, and everything else. But if you had it set up and you gave them clear view, they could actually see what was still open, what was still pending, what each officer was at, each post within seconds, which eliminated radio time and phone calls.
Yeah, so and that goes in to our next point, in that we can really eliminate a lot of the other software location devices, whether it's a GPS under the hood of the patrol cars. When we have a dispatch that's paying attention to the activity at all of these sites in real time, we don't need a lot of those other geofencing or tracking devices because it would be very difficult to fool a dispatch that's constantly paying attention, right?
Yeah, I don't like the geofencing. I know people out there feel that geofencing is great because you're caging your people and you can see when he leaves the perimeter. But, your clients have access to that. And a lot of the times your guard is going to leave that post for a reason, whether he's going to take a break or he's going to go to the store. It doesn't matter. You're still putting yourself in a position where your client can say, hey, let me see the reports. And then you got to tell them why he left, right? Maybe a good reason, but you got to explain it. GPS in a vehicle is very expensive. And I know when I had it, I put it on my cars because I wanted to see how fast they were going, or were they going to account from one account to the next account? What was the time frames? We can simply do that with this technology, Silvertrac. The arrival times, right, and departure. So if you could actually go back in the morning and you could actually verify how long it took him to get to one post to the next on the system. So I was able to eliminate the GPS. I could do it by time.
Yeah, so Chris has a couple of, let's say, a couple of miscellaneous benefits that we have here of ways that Silvertrac really does improve guard management. First off, you remove the stationary costs. We talked about this on why you have to go paperless for the daily activity reports, but most of the time, no matter what process you have in place, if you're using written reports, it makes guard management so much more difficult. You're dealing with information after the fact. It just adds a whole nother element. Let's say you have 50 guards that you manage as a supervisor, and now you've got 50 different people who can screw up a report, leave information out, have sloppy handwriting, spill coffee on their paper report. That's 50 reports you've got to go pick up every day or scan in or fax over to the customer. Just so much headache that goes into managing even the physical report. We can eliminate all of that, which really helps you focus on what's important, not so much rounding up stationary, right?
Yeah, and a lot of the tour systems that are out there do one thing. They may be able to remove the paperwork or the daily activity report. We're fortunate with Silvertrac because we've actually designed a real-time reporting tool. So they can do their supervision, right? They can do their vehicle inspections. They can do their gas checks. Because what I've seen is when I've gone into a lot of security companies today, I can see them using the device for the daily activity report and they say, hey, well, why aren't you using it for your post inspections? Why aren't you using it for your vehicle inspections? Because they had other stationary documents, paper, that the guys were still doing with their vehicle inspections, right? So that's still additional cost. So the fact that we could take that other stationery away is fantastic. So use your technology, use Silvertrac as those other tools and eliminate more costs.
Well, Silvertrac Nation, we've covered just a few of the ways that really Silvertrac can make guard management much easier, but this is only the tip of the iceberg. So I encourage you, visit silvertracsoftware.com/37. There's more written out in the article there, but we'd also love to get in touch with you to have a demo of Silvertrac to see how we could potentially improve your guard management process for your security company. So don't hesitate to reach out, silvertracsoftware.com/37. And as always, we appreciate you taking the time to listen to the Silvertrac Extra. And until next time, my name is Johnny Page.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We'll talk to you soon.
This has been another episode of the Silvertrac Extra. For more insider information, visit silvertracsoftware.com/extra. Listen on the go by subscribing in iTunes. Want to hear your questions answered on the show? Visit silvertracsoftware.com/questions to submit your requests.